What's up, guys? Rick here for the betting preview for the 3M Open. Very similar situation to last week as the tour heads to a stop that we've never seen before. TPC Twin Cities, which is a regular course on the Champions Tour, getting the promotion, I suppose, up to the PGA Tour. We've got no course history for any of these guys. It's a fairly weak field. Names, some of these odds start to get pretty short for names that we have seen at much longer odds in the past. And we'll just try to do what we did last week, where we'll just roll through a couple of things that I think are fairly interesting, and we'll do it pretty quickly. So the top of the betting board is led by Brooks Koepka, 7-1. Right behind him is Hideki Matsuyama at 10-1, and Jason Day currently at 11-1. These odds are as of Tuesday afternoon, so I know some of them have changed since they came out yesterday or Monday. I've seen a couple of them jump a few points in each direction. But anyway, this is kind of a similar situation to last week, where we had DJ as really just the odds-on favorite, super short odds, and the discussion that we had was mostly around the fact that guys with really short odds, guys with single-digit odds, have not come through this year. Again, past performance certainly does not equal future results, but we are now, with DJ missing the cut last week, we're like 0 for 24 this year on guys who are single digit odds and did not win the golf tournament. Brooks Koepka is that guy this week. If it was a regular week, it would worry me that he was this short. The fact that it is one of these no course history weeks, like we talked about just 7 days ago, it really does open up a lot of the field. And that's exactly what we saw last week when Nate Lashley goes out and wins the thing. Doc Redman's in the top 5. Ted Potter Jr. is in it. I forget who else was up there. Just a bunch of names, 100, 150, 200 to 1 on the betting board. And like when there's no course history, it kind of levels things out a little bit. So that's kind of the strategy that I'm looking at for this week. If you're dying to bet one of these guys, at the top, I probably won't be betting any of the top 3. I do think Patrick Reed at 22-1 is interesting. I think Tony Finau at 28-1 is more interesting. He should in no way be the same odds as Victor Hovland to win this golf tournament. But the name that really, probably the place where I'm going to start my board, is Keegan at 40-1. And I am fully aware of what Keegan Bradley is capable of. He's capable of finishing dead last, or he is capable of winning the golf tournament. But that's exactly what I'm looking for in terms of an outright. I don't care if he comes in second. If I'm not going to bet him top 5 or whatever, I legit don't care if he finishes in second place. It does nothing for us. Keegan has at least shown us, which other guys, not necessarily, Victor Hovland hasn't shown us this, Joaquin Niemann, Rory Sabatini, I don't even know the last time he won on the PGA Tour. Keegan's won recently, right? And he won last year. He won a playoff event with the final score, I think he was 20 under par. If this thing turns into another shootout, Keegan is the type of guy that can finish there. And if he finishes dead last, that's fine. Same thing as if he just finishes 35th or 5th or 2nd in terms of the outright market. And there's 2 guys sitting at 80-1 that kind of caught my attention. We'll start with Charley Hoffman, who, he burned everybody, especially, DFS-wise at the Travelers, where he missed the cut. But it was really his first round that he was brutal. Goes out and shot like a 67, I believe, in the second round, played much better, still was not able to make the cut. Then last week, he misses the cut like 1 or 2 off the number. Didn't play terrible, just didn't make it to the weekend. Brand new course. That might have been not a good fit for him. He's just now played 3 rounds in a row where his tee to green game, he's gained tee to green, okay? So when I look at this field and I see 80-1 behind guys that have never sniffed a win on the PGA Tour, guys that have never really even competed on the PGA Tour, I'm leaning a bit towards some of these more seasoned veterans who've competed, and I know that they can contend. Similar to Jason Duffner. Duffner coming off the missed cut last week. I think he did miss the cut on the number last week. He was like 4 under, missed the cut, played well at the Memorial, made the cut at the U.S. Open. He's gained like 8 straight rounds tee to green. His putting's always going to be the issue, but if he can get hot for 1 week, we can see that he can go pretty low. If he starts firing darts in there, he doesn't need to rely on that flat stick. And again, 80 to 1 is just too much value for these two guys that I know can close out tournaments. Compared to their peers, those are really, really good numbers. Long shots, I'll probably just sprinkle around. I could throw a couple bucks on Hoagie. I could throw a couple bucks back on Andrew Landry, who's even longer this week than he was last week after making the cut. Landry, again, we saw him put together like one really good round. One round where he had like the third best round of the day. I think it was Friday or Saturday. I still believe Landry's upside is there. He just needs to put 4 rounds together. He's doing it once or twice every tournament. He just got to put all 4 together. There were some interesting matchups here. So these are tournament matchups. And the one that really, really jumped out at me is Hideki versus Brooks Koepka, which I think everyone's, like if you had to bet this over infinity, straight up, Koepka is probably the guy you'd pick. But I'm looking at Koepka being minus 150 and Hideki being plus 110, which is a considerable difference. I mean, even just looking at Koepka versus Day, Koepka's minus 130, Jason Day is even. I'm not sure why the gap between Koepka and Hideki is so big. Now, usually there'd be a time in the past where I'd be like, oh my gosh, this line is talking to me. Koepka is so clearly, obviously overvalued here. He must be even more, like Vegas must know something. He must be even more valuable than what I'm seeing at minus 150. But I just don't necessarily feel that way here. Hideki's been one of the best players tee to green. You're getting plus odds on him. Of course, it's against Koepka, but we've seen Koepka's results be a bit more volatile than Hideki's lately. So I think I'm going to fire a matchup bet there. And then there's also some really big numbers on Bryson. So I see Bryson minus 165 against Tony Finau. Finau's plus 125. I see Bryson minus 150 against Patrick Reed, who's plus 115. And to me, when I'm looking at these tournament matchups, and we've kind of talked about this a lot, is golf is super volatile. Golf is super volatile for 1 round. It's super volatile for 4. And some guys make it even more volatile. Bryson is one of those guys that makes it even more volatile. He can miss 3 or 4 straight cuts. He can go out and be top 5. He can go out and win. He can miss the cut the next week, vice versa, right? So guys that make it more volatile, to me, are a lot more difficult to bet as significant favorites in these types of matchups. Now, unfortunately, the two that I just mentioned are guys that are also, a little bit on the high end of volatility. Patrick Reed, who very, very similar to Bryson, can be the best player on the planet or one of the worst players on the planet any given week, but at least you're getting plus odds there. And same with Tony Finau, where, he's plus 125, and outside of his just recent 3 missed cuts, he would have been one of the safer golfers out there. Racks up a bunch of top 20s, doesn't win a lot, but in matchups, that's okay. So I think that's just one example of something to target, because a lot of these matchups are, much more consistent players. Like, I don't love betting matchups with like against Charles Howe III, who I'm looking at here, someone who's much more consistent. But some of these volatile guys, I think it is a much better fade of them, and to try it, especially if you're getting plus digits on the other side of it. So there you go. That's the quick preview. I'm going to fire a couple bets and we'll sweat them out this weekend. Good luck, everybody. See ya.